If you grew up Baptist or in certain particular denominational point, and you believe in baptism by immersion, and if you have a Baptist background, that's really important, right? Baptism is an important thing. But is it the thing? Is it absolutely the thing? There were some that took on what's called baptismal regeneration, that believe that it's only through baptism that you can actually be saved. Like certain groups, again, I'm not here bashing people, not here to bash, but people that have a particular Church of Christ background, or certain forms I say for certain forms, Greek Orthodoxy, Catholicism, all take this baptismal regeneration viewpoint, that if you haven't been baptized, you're not saved. Doesn't matter if you made a confession of faith. They would say, nope, you have to be baptized. Now, somebody who doesn't believe that, who believes that it's through faith in Yeshua and a confession of coming to faith to Him, gets saved through that process, and that baptism is a part of the next step, they might write a letter to that person, and you might think that they're really against baptism. But they're not. They're just against it for the purpose of salvation. And I think that it's important that we understand Rav Shaul, the Apostle Paul, when he's speaking about Torah, he's saying, look, you're misappropriating it. You're using it in the wrong way. And that's his point. And that's what's central to the message. Tracking on along in Acts 13 in verses 48. When the Gentiles heard this, and talking about salvation coming to the ends of the earth, when the Gentiles heard this, they began rejoicing and glorifying the word of the Lord. And as many as had been appointed, everybody say appointed, to eternal life believed. Now, there's rejection of this message. And Paul and Barnabas are catching some flack and some heat from the Jewish leadership. Not all Jewish people, but from the Jewish leadership here in this particular town. But it says this, that these Gentiles were glorifying God, and that many as were appointed believed. Now, if you don't believe that God is sovereign in your salvation, read this text. This term in Greek is a term that could have the idea, it carries the connotation of an officer being commissioned into service. The idea of, so this speaks to God's sovereignty. And it's a passive perfect. It's, in other words, it's in the perfect tense, something that's taken place that has an ongoing, enduring effect. And it's a military term that's oftentimes used. I really think it's beautiful. First of all, you need to understand that according to what this says here, yes, Paul and Barnabas are about the mission, they're about taking the message out, but these particular people that come to faith were appointed to do so at this particular time. You know, God is the one that is sovereign over your salvation. And that's something that's important. And it's something that we need to be reminded of in Messianic Jewish practice. That God is the one that is sovereign over your salvation. And in fact, He even is sovereign over the timing of it. Yes, I understand that it's a part of us practicing our faith in Him. I understand that. But even that is a response to something that God has been doing in your life. It's not about you. You need to understand that your salvation is something that was appointed by the Lord. But by the way, though, what do you do when you take on a commission? You raise your right hand and you say, you take an oath. And you say what you're going to do. You know, Paul says in Ephesians, he said, for we are His workmanship, and we are His craft workmanship, prepared before, which God prepared beforehand, that we might be fit for good works, which God prepared beforehand. In fact, in verse 8 and 9, it says, by grace you have been saved through faith, not of your own doing. It is the gift of God, lest anybody boast about it. For we are His workmanship, created anew in Messiah Yeshua, fit for good works, that God prepared beforehand that you should walk in them, you know. The idea is that you were saved for a purpose. You are saved for a lazman hazeh, for such a time as this. You were in God's. I don't understand why. I wish I would have come to faith when I was a teenager. I wish that my hard head would have gotten it much sooner, right? But see, even God's sovereign over that.